Long ago, there was a small wooden house nestled peacefully in the countryside. The house was surrounded by a pristine white fence, with a lovely little garden in front where fresh vegetable beds and vibrant rose bushes flourished. In the distance, lush green rice fields stretched far and wide, while cattle grazed leisurely under the warm glow of the setting sun. In this remote village, there lived a small family of four, a young couple with their two growing children. They lived happily together, tending to their green vegetable beds and blooming flowers. Every moment spent side by side was filled with love and warmth. One evening, the family gathered around their simple wooden table, enjoying a humble dinner of boiled vegetables, braised fish, and white rice. In the cozy atmosphere, Mr. Ann began telling a story about faith in God. He spoke of a poor farmer who often faced hardships and crop failures. Despite his struggles, the farmer never lost faith and always prayed to God, hoping for a bountiful harvest in the next season. The farmer believed that God had heard his prayers and would deliver him from misfortune. As Mr. An finished the story, Nam hesitated and asked how they could be sure that God always helped people. Mrs. Mai smiled gently, reminding her son that every time their family faced difficulties, there was always a way to overcome them. That was God's providence at work. Hearing this, Lynn's eyes sparkled, and she cheerfully said that as long as they believed in God, there was no need to worry. Mr. Ann nodded, emphasizing that the most important thing was to live a good life and do good deeds. Mr. Ann continued the story, recounting how the same village once endured days of heavy storms. The endless rain flooded the rice fields, leaving the villagers in despair. They wept bitterly over their submerged crops, but still held on to their faith, praying together for God's protection and guidance. The next morning, the sky cleared, and a kind neighbor arrived with a water pump to help drain the fields. This neighbor was the very person the village chief had once helped during hard times. Witnessing this miracle, the villagers realized that God had answered their prayers in his own way. They worked together, not only to save the crops, but also to strengthen their bonds with one another. Laughter and chatter echoed across the fields, blending with the sound of flowing water, a scene full of life and hope. Joy filled everyone's hearts, not only because the fields were gradually recovering, but because they felt God's providence more clearly than ever. Grateful and inspired, they promised to live better lives and always be ready to help others, just as they had been helped. As the sun set, the whole village gathered for a small feast to give thanks to God and those who had lent a helping hand. The sound of laughter and heartfelt blessings filled the air, creating a symphony of happiness in the tranquil countryside. This story of faith and miracles would be passed down through generations, becoming an unforgettable part of the village's memory. Mrs. Mai, eyes glistening with tears, whispered that God was truly wonderful. Mr. An nodded softly, reminding the family that God always had a plan for everyone. Nam, deeply moved, understood for the first time that with trust in God, anything was possible. Lynn beamed with joy, thanking God for always watching over their family. The next morning, like every other beautiful morning, the family gathered in the garden, tending to the lush green plants. Laughter echoed beneath the clear blue sky. Nam helped his father water the vegetables, while Lynn picked fresh leaves with her mother. They all realized that life was not only filled with hardships, but also with countless miracles. If only one placed their faith in God, and lived with kindness. Mr. An looked at his children with loving eyes, reminding them that the most precious things in life were not possessions, but faith and love. The whole family responded in unison. Amen.